Okay, it looks like we went live. How's it going? Chuck Holton here, coming to you from my balcony in downtown Jerusalem. I had a very interesting afternoon. As a matter of fact, this evening I had a few minutes, so I went for a walk, and I walked over to the field of blood where Judas Iscariot hanged himself. It's just right over there, about a mile. And so I made a video of it, and I'll put that up over at chuckholton.com a little later when I get a chance to edit it together. And there's just so many incredible historical things to see here in Jerusalem. I'm trying to take full advantage of it and go see places that a lot of tourists wouldn't get a chance to go. Those are my favorite kind of places to visit. And so anyway, that was pretty cool. Now, let's get to the breaking news. You probably saw that the IDF Special Operations Forces, actually their version of the Navy SEALs, actually rescued a hostage alive out of Rafah today, down there at the very southern end of Gaza. And they got a tip-off, apparently, about a tunnel network that they had somehow missed. And so they were going down there to find it and destroy it. When they got down there, they ended up in a pretty intense firefight. Didn't last long, though, because Navy SEALs being Navy SEALs, they're pretty good at killing stuff. And they took out 8 Hamas terrorists that were guarding the tunnel network. Those 8 Hamas terrorists took a dirt nap, and then they went into the tunnel and found Farhan I want to make sure I get his name right, al-Qadi, Farhan al-Qadi. He's a 52-year-old Israeli Arab he's a Bedouin, and he was about 25 yards underground. He is in good condition. They took him to the hospital, checked him out. He had lost a ton of weight, about 45 pounds in the 10 and a half months that he was underground. He said that for the last several months, he had not even seen light. He had not even been able to see the sun at all in that time. And so coming out into the sunlight was physically painful for him. And you'll see here in the videos that we got, they offered him some sunglasses. So let's go look at some of these videos. This is his family running to see him at the hospital. Mr. al-Qadi has 11 children, mostly adults, it looks like. And they were so excited to go see their dad coming in. And so this was as they were running to see the helicopter as it was coming in for a landing before he came in. There he is in the hospital looking pretty skinny. And this is pretty cool. This is him in the armored personnel carrier working his way back to the, well, it looks like, let me just look here. Looks like they're taking him to the helicopter now. So they put him in a armored personnel carrier, moved him out of the danger zone in Gaza, and then put him in this Black Hawk helicopter, gave him some sunglasses, and he got to fly home. You can tell he looks super pumped to be on that helicopter. This is them walking him to the helicopter again. Now, interesting, because he must have gotten 2 helicopter rides, because this helicopter is tan, and the one that he came into the airport on, or to the hospital on, was green. So they must have taken him to a base first, and then to the helicopter or something like that. I mean, yeah, and then to the hospital, something like that. So he was, Mr. al-Qadi was, again, underground. He's the 8th hostage to be rescued alive out of approximately 250 that were abducted on October 7th. He was found alone without any guards. And at first they were saying they received a tip-off about his whereabouts, or the fact that there were some hostages in the area. The New York Times article says that an unnamed source says that he was found apparently by chance during a search operation looking for the tunnels. And so we're not sure which one of those is correct. Mr. al-Qadi worked as a security guard in Magin, which is a kibbutz near the Gaza border. And when he was abducted, he's a member of Israel's Arab Bedouin minority. So these are, so the Bedouin is not a race. It's not an ethnicity. It's just a people group. As Michael Youn would call it, an anthro-insula. It is a people island. These Bedouins have lived in the region all across the Middle East for centuries, if not millennia. They're nomadic tribes, and they pretty much keep to themselves. They're pretty peaceful most of the time. There's about 200,000 of them in Israel, and they are citizens. They can vote. They do get sideways with the government from time to time over land rights because the government wants them to move to towns. And these people are like, we're Bedouins. We don't live in towns. We live in tents. When you drive from here down to the Dead Sea, you go down a long hill, and it gets very, very dry as you get down in there, very hot. And there are Bedouin encampments on both sides of the road. There's no roads to those encampments. They're just along the freeway, and they're just tent encampments. They have lots of goats, a few camels, some donkeys, and maybe a horse or two. And they don't have electricity. They don't have plumbing, running water. Again, they live in tents. Now they're not Amish. They use solar power and generators and things like that. But that is how they prefer to live. And they don't own the land that they're on. They just squat on there. They don't pay taxes or anything like that. And so they get sideways with the government from time to time because the government doesn't like that. They want to control them. And these are very freedom-loving people. So they don't take kindly to that. And that's about the only problems they have. Now, many of them do actually serve in the military. At any given time, there are 1,000 to 2,000 soldiers in the IDF who are Bedouin. And there have been a few Bedouin soldiers killed so far in this war. And but they're not forced to serve. They are allowed to volunteer, but they're not forced to serve, which is kind of interesting because they just had this big court case over whether the Haredi, the Orthodox Jews, should have to serve. Because I assume they could always volunteer, but they didn't get drafted. And so they just went to the Supreme Court here to decide that, yes, the Orthodox Jews have to get drafted like everybody else. And they sent out draft notices to about 3,000 or so Haredi, and I think 12 answered the call to serve their countries. I was standing next to one of those guys when I was in line for my Jordan pond water. Speaking of which, be right back. I'm getting some Jordan pond water. I need a drink. This pond water is fantastic. It's made from the ergot plant, something like that. It's like a giant lemon kind of thing with a really wrinkly rind on it. And I guess it's something special religiously. They do something with it on Sukkot, which is coming up in September. But I just like it because anything that looks that bad has got to be good for you. And I'm trying to outlive my wife by one day. So here's to you, honey. Okay. It's got a little bit of a bite to it. It's not alcoholic. At least I hope not. I was standing next to, when I went to buy this stuff, I was standing next to an Orthodox Jewish couple of guys that were probably 20, in their early 20s. And I was like, this stuff doesn't have any protein in it, right? And they're like, yeah, why? And I was like, well, aren't you guys about to get the call, the draft notice? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop while I'm behind and quit bothering these guys before I really get myself in trouble here. I wasn't trying to make fun of them. I was just, these guys were like super skinny and little pasty white because these guys really don't like go to the gym much or get out in the sun much or eat healthy much, but I was glad to see them in there getting this healthy green juice. Anyway, it's just interesting to me that they just went through this whole process with the Supreme Court to make those guys serve, but they don't make the Bedouin serve. They allow them to if they want, but they don't have to. It's kind of interesting. Maybe one of my good friends can that lives here, that is Jewish or Israeli and knows the culture, can maybe explain that one to me. I'm sure I'll get a few emails. Oh, that stuff's good. Okay, so I wanted to, this is pretty cool. I wanted to read for you the phone call. This is a readout of the phone call that he had with the Prime Minister shortly after he arrived at the hospital. This is, let's see here. It is definitely better than the cheese latte. Prime Minister says, Farhan, hello dear, welcome back. And Farhan says, hello and welcome, Ya Bibi, Ya Abu Yair. And this is an interesting greeting because I guess in Arab culture, an honorific, once you're a father, that's an honored position, and your name becomes, or you can be called by Abu, which is father of, and the name of your first son. So I would be Abu Mason. As a matter of fact, when I was in Jordan, I talked to a restaurant owner a couple days ago, and he introduced himself as Abu Hashim. And so I introduced myself as Abu Mason. And he continued to refer to me as Abu Mason for the whole time we had our conversation. So I guess it's an honorific. PM says, I'm so happy to talk to you. Farhan says, I'm happy too. I've been waiting for this moment. Tell me, have you met the family yet? Yes, my 2 children are here. PM, I want you to know that we are really moved from the bottom of our hearts for you as well as for the family. Farhan says, I thank you for this work, for getting me to the point where I can see my family and be here. You really did a holy work you did. There are other people waiting. The PM says, I want you to know that we do not forget anyone, just as we did not forget you. We are committed to returning everyone without exception. And Farhan says, I thank you very, very much. Inviting you, Abu Yair. And Prime Minister says, thank you, but mostly I want you to hug the family, and I want you to know that the entire nation of Israel hugs you and the others too. We will bring them. And so that ended the phone call with Bibi Netanyahu. What a heartfelt, emotional moment. And I don't have the video loaded up, but you should see it. It's pretty cool. And, you know, I just have to point out, all these protesters and everything keep saying that, you know, Israel's an apartheid state. Look, this is an Arab Bedouin Muslim who was taken captive. They figured out that he was in there. They sent 18 Jewish special operations soldiers to go get him out. Those guys put him on an aircraft flown by Jewish pilots. They took him to the hospital where he was treated by Jewish doctors, and everyone in the whole country is celebrating this man's release. How is that apartheid? How is that racist? How is that, Islamophobic? This country loves its people, and it loves peace, and it wants all of its people back, and it loves its people so much that it's willing to do whatever it has to do to get them back. And I think you have to respect that, you know. Don Bishop says, I can't figure out why it's dark over there. Well, because it's almost 9 o'clock. Well, it's after 9 o'clock at night. It's 9:30 over here at night. You know about, different time zones, right? I did run into a girl one time who didn't have any idea that there were different time zones, and she was like 18 years old. Where was he captured? He was captured from a kibbutz called Magin, Magen, near the Gaza border. He worked there. He didn't live there. And he has a couple of wives and 11 children. And somebody said, how can he have a couple of wives? It's illegal to practice polygamy in Israel. And you're right. It is illegal to practice polygamy here, but they don't much enforce that law among the Bedouin, because the Bedouin insist on clinging to their old tribal ways. And screw you, government. So they they just do it. They're like, we're Bedouin. We do what we want. They'd make good Americans, because I say that all the time. I'm American. I do what I want. And I say that a lot when I'm jaywalking here, because the Israelis don't jaywalk by and large. And I do. I cross the street when I want to cross the street. And I get this look at that guy. He's crossing the street. And I just say, American, do what I want. And keep walking. So the prime minister spoke to him, said that he was committed to freeing the rest of the hostages. Pressure is growing on Netanyahu to make a deal to end the war. And the crazy thing about that is pressure is not really growing, at least diplomatically, on Hamas to make a deal to end the war, just on Netanyahu. But they have had a string of victories in the last couple of weeks. They killed Naftali, the Hamas leader. I just spaced on his name. And they killed Fuad Shukr in the north. And they stopped this big attack from Hezbollah with hundreds or thousands of missiles that were aimed at Tel Aviv. Could have killed thousands of people if they had not got to those literally 15 minutes before they were about to go off. Now they've rescued a hostage. They've paved a road across the Philadelphia corridor. They're finding more and more tunnels all the time. They've destroyed dozens of Hamas fighters every day for the last several weeks inside Gaza, and they are winning. So Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't have a lot of motivation to make a deal with Hamas when he's crushing Hamas day in and day out. And at the rate they're going, they will get all of their hostages back one way or another, dead or alive, if they're able to find them. I say dead or alive because they say that there are probably around 100 of them left in captivity, but that they know that at least 30 of those are dead, maybe more, probably more, but there are 30 that they know of that are dead. And so, if they keep this up, they're not going to have a lot of reasons to negotiate a ceasefire, because their non-ceasefire is working pretty good for them right now. Does that make sense? Okay, so this guy was, as I said, the 8th hostage that they have captured alive. There have been some real tragedies and some real setbacks in this war since they went into Gaza. They, remember back in the beginning, accidentally killed 3 hostages who had escaped and were trying to turn themselves in to the Israelis. They have killed others who were just, someplace they got blown up or whatever, and they found their bodies later. They just recently found the bodies of 6 hostages who apparently were shot and killed by their guard, who perhaps lost his family in an airstrike or something. And so, they certainly have had their setbacks. They've had their foibles, their foul-ups, without a doubt. But right now, the IDF is on a roll, and they're going to push it to the limit, I think. And that's a very good thing. All right, let's see if we got any questions real quick I can answer. Do you think Israel would try to take Sinwar alive if it's possible for intel, or do they want just to eliminate him? I think they would like to take him alive, but they would also like to eliminate him. They don't have the death penalty, so if they're going to eliminate him, they have to do it when they take him, if they capture him. And it's kind of unlikely that he would be caught alive or turn himself in. So if I had to bet that when they find him one way or another, is he going to come out of that alive? I would say probably not. But, then they make him a martyr. And the other option is to put him in prison and then make him a candidate so that people, his supporters will go out and try to kidnap more Israelis to trade for him. Oh yeah, Ismail Haniyeh, thank you. That was just slipped my mind there. In America, it's every man in government for itself. Okay, that's not a question. Let's see. They turn off the sun there. Where was he captured? In Rafah. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't captured in Rafah. It was captured in that kibbutz I talked about. Let's see here. He says there are other people waiting, and there was some talk today in the chatter that was going on Telegram that they thought there might be more captives alive in the same area. So you can bet that they are continuing their search in that area for sure. Okay, so Etrog. This is Etrog juice. And it doesn't look like lemon juice, does it? It kind of tastes like lemonade mixed with your front yard. Yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, still looking for questions here. I was waiting for your stream to start when you did already in progress with your topic, so we missed the very beginning. They rescued a hostage today. He's in good shape, he's alive, and he is with his 11 children now. He's being checked out at the hospital. You didn't realize they were blurring the faces? You were trying to clean your phone. They blur all the faces. And I could blur the faces. Are there still hostages from countries besides Israel? You don't hear any outcry from foreign countries to Hamas. There are, I think, 3 American Israeli hostages left in Gaza, if I remember right. But I don't know about other countries. I think the Russians got all theirs out. The Thai people got all their living hostages out. And so I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? I want to show you something. When I went down tonight, I took a walk down to the field of blood, the field where Judas hung himself. And there's a mural on the wall that I walked past that has pictures of all the 250 hostages that were taken. And I took this video of, I got to start it over again, just to give you a sense. So this is the guy that was just rescued, right? Okay, now watch. There are still a lot more in there to be rescued. Obviously, a lot of these have been found or have been killed, but a lot of these people are still alive. And so Israel is not giving up, and we should continue to pray for them to be brought out alive. We've been praying very hard here at CBN to try to get God to give the IDF the discernment that they need, the wisdom that they need to go in and find these guys and bring them out. And today was an answer to that prayer. Do you think the Bibas family might be alive? And why is the world okay with holding a baby just because he's Jewish? Yes, Hannah, that's a very good question. I have not heard if they know whether or not the Bibas family is alive, but let's just hope and pray that they are. Obviously, Hamas has a very big incentive to keep the hostages alive because they're worth a lot more alive than they are dead. But they even hold the dead ones. They have dead bodies that they've been holding for 10 years of IDF soldiers, and they're still trying to barter for something for those guys. The Did I have any issues getting back from Jordan? Oh, don't get me started, Renee. It was a nightmare getting back from Jordan. And I did a video about it over at chuckholton.com. So you can go over there and watch that if you like and hear the whole sad story. And I kind of feel bad because I feel like I was just complaining, but it was just such a ridiculous, process trying to get back across the border. I just felt like I had to tell everybody. Any chance some of the hostages were moved to Iran? I think there's a low chance, Robert. I think it's a pretty low chance there are any hostages in Iran. I think most of them have been kept in Gaza. If any of them have been taken out of Gaza, we've not heard anything about any of those. You'd think that there would be some rumors or something about them, but we've not heard anything about that. Is there any info on the women IDF hostages? No, no more information on them that I have seen. Let's see. This man just rescued, conveyed in the exchange with Bibi that there are more waiting to be rescued, meaning more are alive. Yes, that's right. And praise God is right. Let's all pray for little baby Bibas. Is there any update on the mom and the two little boys? That's who we're talking about. There is not. And let's just pray that they are still alive and that they will soon be rescued. Do you think that Oscar Blue is a born-again Christian? Yes. And if you want to take just a second, I just have to say something to you all. Oscar is a baby Christian, and he has made a lot of progress in his spiritual journey in the last year. And I have been working on him and discipling him, and so have some other friends of ours that we have in common. And, he grew up in a Catholic community, but it was, his mother was very devout Catholic. But he wasn't so much, wasn't all that interested. And so he was more just culturally Catholic, like many people in the United States and in Mexico. And but he has figured out that there's a whole lot more to salvation than just like if you're going to get to heaven, you got to paddle. You don't get in on your mother's shirt tails. You got to paddle your own canoe. And so he's been learning. We've been talking about it. I've been reading him scripture and teaching him a little bit about that. And he is just sucking it up. I mean, he really wants to know. And he is so humble. He knows he's got a long way to go and a lot to learn. But he really wants a relationship with Jesus. And he literally gets on his knees. How many of you do this? He gets on his knees next to his bed every day as his kids are going to bed. And as they walk down the hallway to go to their beds, they see their father on his knees in prayer for them. Now, beeper guy! Yeah! Beeper guy. So how many of you get on your knees physically and let your children see you praying for them on a daily basis? Well, Oscar does. Now, he doesn't have a church that he goes to in Mexico. And it'd be good probably if he found one. But he, little by little, he's working on it, one step at a time. In the book of Jude, right before Revelation, it tells us that we should be busy yanking people out of the fire until he comes. Our job is to yank people out of the fire. And listen, if I go into a burning building and I see somebody there that needs help getting out, I'm going to grab them and I'm going to get them out. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm here to save you, but you got to change, because that's not appropriate. We got to fix your hair. Your hair's too long. We got to fix you got to take those earrings out, or, you know what I'm saying? We are so good in the Christian community in the United States at shooting our wounded. And I have to tell you that many of you who have gone over and have started following Oscar on his channel have been doing exactly that, have been shooting the wounded. Oscar is working his way through that. He needs grace. He needs mercy. He needs love. And you guys are getting angry at him because he said, holy crap. Okay, or he said, oh my God. Okay, look, if you were raised like I was, that's not a good thing to say, fine. That's great. Good for you. Why don't you let the Holy Spirit impress that upon Oscar instead of flaming him and pushing him further away from Christians? Because right now he wants a lot of Christianity, but he sure doesn't like Christians very much because you guys have been so judgmental. Some of you, most of you have been wonderful. And he told me, he said, 90% of the comments I get are just so nice. Man, these people that are coming over and following me from you guys are so nice. But there's those few who just get their undies in a wad and start flaming me because of the way I talk. Look, he's a former professional boxer. He spent time in prison, okay? I mean, he's a little rough around the edges, and so am I, because I spent 8 years in the military, okay? And you can take the boy out of the Army, but you have a harder time taking the Army out of the boy, if you know what I mean. So it's been a long work to make Sergeant Holton submit to Christ. And it'll be a long work to make Oscar Blue Ramirez fully submit to Christ. But it's not gonna make it easier for him to do that if you guys are whining at him or flaming him because he's a little rough around the edges, okay? So I just want to say that. I'm sorry for the sermon, but it kind of bugs me when I work so hard to try to show mercy and show grace and disciple and love and teach and train somebody, a new believer, and you guys come along and try to squash him because he said the word crap. I mean, it just makes me wonder if, you know what, I want him to go to heaven. I wonder if you really give a damn. And some of you are more upset that I just said the word damn than you are about the fact that he might not go to heaven. And that's a problem. That's a problem that we Christians have. We get so holier than thou that people who are new Christians, who are not Christians, who are just seeking, get pushed away from us because the first thing we do is try to change how they talk, change how they dress, change how they look, change how they walk. How about we just, instead of, beating the hell out of people, how about we try to love the hell out of people for once? Okay? All right. That's enough of that. All right. I'm sorry, but man, I tell you what, there are some hyper-fundamentalist, legalistic Judaizers out there that will just beat you to death over the fact that you quoted scripture that wasn't out of the 1611 King James Version or something, some stupidity like that. And that is just as sinful as somebody taking the Lord's name in vain. Okay? So maybe focus on the log that's in your own eye for a little bit. Why don't you? Okay? All right. Now, go Chuck. Okay, so I hope I answered your question there. Somebody literally posted when he was on live last night, Catholics are not Christians. And it's like, look, there are a lot of Catholics that are not Christians, but there are a lot of Catholics that'll be way in front of you and me getting in line, getting into heaven. And who really fully understand and read the Bible for themselves. There are a lot of cultural Christians out there, cultural Catholics, cultural Armenians, cultural Orthodox. There are a lot of cultural Jews out there. Okay, there are a lot of people who pretend to be religious because they're born in a Christian country or because my grandma was a Christian and took me to church every Sunday, so I must be going to heaven. Look, standing in a football stadium doesn't make you a football. If you're going to go to heaven, you have got to form a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. You do that by accepting his free gift of forgiveness for your sins. And when you accept that free gift and you understand exactly what it cost him, it makes you so grateful that you want to change your speech. You want to change your dress. You want to change your actions. But when you start out trying to, pounce on somebody about their actions or their speech or their dress, you push them away from that relationship. Maybe I should have started a prayer breakfast instead of instead of a podcast. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So let me go back. I saw another question here, way back up here. Hang on a sec. Let me answer this question. You have the right to get up, blah, blah, blah. It's a preach. Works in progress. Yes, Oscar is a very humble man with a heart of gold. Okay, well, if you had a question, I missed it, and I got all the way to the top of the chat, and it's not there. So you're going to have to ask your question again. What was Jesus' most important commandment? Love one another. Okay. Yeah, you might have to go back and watch that again. Sorry. Listen, if I start a church, there's going to not, I don't even think my family would want to go. Let me just tell you that. Who was it? I think my dad one time told me before he died, he thought I was going to end up being a pastor. And I said, no way, that's never going to happen, Dad. I might be a speaker, but I'll never be a preacher. And so I do quite a bit of speeching, but very little preaching. Are buildings falling because of the destruction of the tunnels? That's a really good question. And the answer is yes. When they destroy the tunnels, it often takes out buildings that are above the tunnels. But hey, sucks to be you if that's one of your buildings. You got to feel sorry for those people. But they are not going to leave those tunnels undestroyed, for sure. All right, so let's see if there's any more questions. Do Bedouins go to school? I believe they go to school. At least most of them do. They may not go as long as other Israelis go. I'm sure that's a really good question. As a matter of fact, I bet I can find out for you real quick because I was Googling this. And, I go to ChatGPT a lot for questions like that because it's good at gathering up information like that, aggregating it. And let me see here. Today, Bedouin community. There we go. Do Bedouins go to school in Israel? So I'm asking ChatGPT, and it said, yes, Bedouin children do attend school, but their access to education and the quality of that education can vary significantly. Bedouin communities, particularly in the Negev desert, face a number of challenges when it comes to education. Lack of infrastructure, dropout rates are high, education quality is somewhat low. Government has made efforts to improve access to education for the Bedouin communities by building new schools, promoting teacher training, and providing scholarships for higher education, but gaps remain. And there have been a growing number of Bedouin students that are pursuing higher education, and they can get scholarships to do so. So there's your answer. Okay, Chuck, I booked a flight to Israel in November. An airline canceled my flight. Is it hitting up over there? Well, you just booked on the wrong airline. It probably was American Airlines or some of that. American has canceled all their flights until next year. The rest of the airlines have not done that. They've just been canceling them, for a week or two out when they have a big thing flare up. So I would recommend, here's the best way to do that. If you want to fly to Israel, you got to book a flight from the United States to someplace in Europe. Athens is good. Frankfurt, Vienna, Rome is good. Madrid works. London works. And then from one of those places, pick up an El Al flight on a separate ticket direct to Tel Aviv. If you want to get here, that's the way to do it. Now, it might be more expensive, but that's the way to make sure that you don't get your flight canceled coming into Israel, because El Al's not going to cancel. They'll be the last ones to cancel flights. The other way to do it, which I've done several times, and it's usually cheaper, is to fly to Amman, Jordan, and then cross the border by land from Amman. It's only an hour in a taxi from the border, from the Amman airport to the border, and then an hour from the border to Jerusalem. And so like I just recently I was looking and I found like a round trip ticket to Amman for like $800 from Washington, D.C. and direct. And then it was, you know, and then it's like $100 taxi ride to the border or something like that. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. According to Israeli law, everyone has to go to school up to the age of 18. Yeah, but the Bedouin, like I said, they do it, they won't. At this point, how much longer do I plan to be here? About another week, I'll be here. And then I'm going to go home to Panama for about a week. And then we're going to go off on our trip to Armenia, our tour coming up to Armenia. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that have asked, because we've had probably 300 people that have asked to go on our trip to Israel with us in October, and we were just completely full, and we had a waiting list, and so we were expecting some cancellations, and so we've filled those cancellations with our waiting list, and we had one guy cancel today, and so we have a slot available if you are a last-minute traveler and you want to go to Israel with us, and Israel and Jordan. In October, we have one slot available. If you're interested, send me an email, hotzoneholton@gmail.com. It's, I think, $3,100 or something like that, all inclusive once you get here. So you got to buy your own plane tickets and get yourself to Amman, Jordan. And then we start the tour in Amman. We go down to Petra, and then down to Aqaba, cross over at Eilat, come up to the Dead Sea, go to Jerusalem for a couple days, and go to Tiberias for a couple days, and then go back to Jordan and fly out. That's our tour. This tour is meant to be specifically to be here on the 1-year anniversary of the attacks on October 7th, to stand with the Israeli people and support them on the anniversary. And all the other stuff we're doing is gravy. Okay, so we're not going to be able to see everything. We're not going to be able to do everything that you should do if you come to Israel. And that's why we're suggesting that that as many of you as possible who are going on the trip actually take an extra week and stay here in Israel by yourself and go see all the things that you want to see that we didn't get a chance to see on our tour. We can help you set up hotels for that, get you drivers and translators, anything you need, tour guides, you name it. But just since you're coming all the way over here, do an extra week in Israel. It would be a smart thing to do. You might even want to just fly out of Tel Aviv so you don't have to cross the border back into Jordan. But either way, we suggest, we do have one slot available for that trip. If anybody's the last minute traveler, first come, first serve. Send me an email, hotzoneholton@gmail.com. Okay. Now let's see here what else we got for questions. Do you think there will be any female rescues? Yes, I fear the worst as well, Cynthia. But let's pray that there are. Let's pray that there are some females that are rescued. Don't the tunnels endanger them in case of earthquakes? Probably not too much. They're pretty solidly built. Those tunnels, if you've seen any video footage that is shot in those tunnels, they're concrete reinforced. They're probably stronger you'd probably be safer in a tunnel in an earthquake than you would be in a building up above the tunnel. So I wouldn't be too worried about that if I was them. Let's see, whoops. Oh boy. How do they know certain hostages are dead if Hamas still has them? That's a good question. Hamas has released some information regarding those hostages, and perhaps that's how they've figured out that some of them are dead. Do you ever fly military air command to Germany to get to Israel? I do not anymore. Back when I was in the military, I flew MAC once in a while, but no, I haven't done that in 20 or 30 years. It's been a while. Yeah, please hit the like button, folks. And look, if you want to support what I do, I don't know if you call this a ministry, but I'm doing the best I can to help people wherever we go through the podcast, allow you to see the people that are hurting, meet them and get to know them, and maybe even reach through me and help them directly. And so if you'd like to do that on a regular basis, you can go to chuckholton.com and you can subscribe over there. You can give a one-time gift or an annual or monthly gift of $7 toss me $7 and, you know, just to say you support what I do. If not, just subscribe here on YouTube. That doesn't cost anything, but it helps the YouTube channel for sure. Now that we're over 100,000, we are getting some, you know, people that are asking to sponsor our show. I haven't found anything that I think is worth, you know, pushing on people yet. So I have not agreed to any of the sponsors, but, you know, there's that. I'm just checking here because I have a hit coming up and I forget, I forget exactly. Okay, about 25 minutes. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Do you think China helped a lot to build the tunnels? Yes, actually, there is some evidence that China was instrumental in assisting Hamas in building those tunnels under Gaza. That was information that came out several months ago. Does Oscar have enough support to come with you to future trips to Israel? Oscar needs help traveling because he has to self-fund all his travel. I get a lot of my travel funded by one of my clients, by either CBN or Newsmax or somebody, but Oscar does not all the time get his funded like that. And so if you'd like to support Oscar to help him come to Armenia with us coming up in September, I've been trying to get him over there and he's like, man, I just don't have the money. So it'd be a super cheap trip for him coming to Armenia because we've had people that paid cancel and so he could just take their slot. But anyway, it would take him a couple $1,000 probably in airfare to get over there at this late date. That's just coming up here in 2 weeks. So yeah, I'd love to interview Amir Tsarfati. I've reached out to him a couple times. I've not yet scored on that one, but I did get a hold of Yair Pinto, and I will be going to meet with him on Sunday, and so we'll do an interview together, and we'll definitely show you that next week. Airline bookings okay, but travel insurance not under FedCo recommendation. Yeah, travel insurance is tough to get to a war zone. You're going to have to just suck it up and you know, get your travel insurance to cover everything until you get here, and just live with it and not be covered while you're here if you're one of those people that gets travel insurance. I don't get travel insurance because I used to, and a couple times I made claims like I lost my luggage and you know, it was clearly something they should have covered, and they found a way to weasel out of it and not cover it anyway. And so I'm not too impressed with travel insurance. Let's see here. Have you heard about fish appearing in the Dead Sea? I've heard about it, but we were just down there the other day and I didn't see any fish in the Dead Sea. Oh, who said tacos? You made me hungry. Do I get 100% of the donations on locals? Almost. I get 85 or 90%, something like that. They don't take a lot on locals. YouTube takes 30%, so YouTube's a lot worse. Minorities are not obligated to serve in the Israeli army, okay? All right, okay. How's Oscar feeling? No, he's fine. He's fine. He's on his way to Medellin right now to do some work reporting on human trafficking there. Would a GoFundMe page for Oscar be the right way to help him? Actually, he has one for his travel, and I can try to find it. No, it's a Give, Send, Go. Let's see if I can find his. I need to search. I search it. I'll put the link up if I can find it. Nope. Well, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee and help Oscar that way. This is Buy Me a Coffee there. I just put the link up to that one. And he can use that money to help with his travel for sure. Yeah, you won't want to miss this thing with Yair Pinto. Let's see. Thank you for being a monthly supporter on Locals. I really appreciate that a lot. That helps a lot. I mean, if you're going to be a supporter, we've got, I don't know, maybe 1,000 of them on YouTube, but I would love to have all of those people on YouTube move over and support on Locals, because if YouTube decides to give me the, you know, the boot one of these days because I said the, you know, one of the words that shall not be uttered on YouTube that have to do with various events that happened around the year 2021, or something like that, I could, or the dreaded V word, and they kick me off or something like that. It would be really nice to have most of my supporters over on Locals rather than on YouTube for that very reason. Does Oscar live in San Diego? No, he lives in Tijuana. And Tijuana is a very dangerous place for a journalist. So he and I have been talking about trying to get them to move to Panama, where it would be safer for him and his family. Yeah, PayPal works. If you go to my PayPal page, you can go to wait a minute, link linktr.ee/Holton. You can go to that link, and my PayPal link is there. Oscar doesn't have a PayPal because he's from Mexico. But if there are Hezbollah tunnels too protected to destroy, can Israel just take over that land and make it part of Israel and take the tunnels? Well, they could take over the land, and they actually did. They had an 18-year war where they had people inside, had soldiers occupying southern Lebanon. But what they would probably do is just destroy those tunnels once they took over that land. They wouldn't keep it. They're not going to try to keep part of Lebanon. Oh, he had a fever last night? I didn't know about that. See, because he wouldn't drink any of this. You know what, Oscar, you know what his health food is while he's here? Captain Crunch. He ate like 17 boxes of Captain Crunch while he was here in 2 weeks. And I'm out over here drinking pond water, trying to stay healthy. And he looks like Adonis in the gym, and he's over there eating Captain Crunch. So maybe he knows a secret. I don't know. But I have to say I was a little bit jealous. Does he get all the money from the Buy Him a Coffee money? Yes, he does. As far as I know. Let's see. Silverwater. Best place to support you, where you get 100% of the money. Well, the best place would be on Locals, even though I don't get 100% of the money, but I get most of it. Or just, you can just send through PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, whatever, on that Linktree link that I just put up. Julie, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Why aren't world leaders not pressuring Egypt about the tunnels? Well, because Israel is just going ahead and destroying all the tunnels, and so there won't be any tunnels to pressure Egypt over. And so there you go. Panama is a good place to live. Yes, it is. I wish I could live there more. What's in this drink? It's called evac. Evac. It's like this lemony thing. Looks like a lemon right there. Yeah, good stuff. It's good for you. Captain Crunch is loaded with iron. Well, maybe he needs some iron. I don't know. He just demolishes the Captain Crunch. I can't believe it. I'm like, we go to the gym. I'm going, dude, how do you stay so ripped when you're eating Captain Crunch like that? I just don't understand. I mean, I just look at Captain Crunch and I get fat. I don't understand this. Do you have any idea if those two little hostage boys might still be alive? I don't. I'm sorry. Do you miss your animals? Very much so. Very, very much so, Jennifer. I love my animals, my little monkeys, my dogs, and my cat. And I miss having an animal to pet. I have found that whatever post-traumatic stress that I might suffer from is made all better when I can have a dog on my lap. And now I understand why my grandfather, who fought through World War II and Korea, always, I never, ever saw him without at least one dog with him on his lap when he drove trucks. And in later life, he had a trucking company, and he drove long distance trucks. And he had a dog that would drape itself over his shoulders in his truck while he drove. And I just thought that was so cool. So, all right, I've got to run, folks. I've got a live hit on Newsmax coming up in a few minutes. And so I'm going to have to let you go. So I will try to answer the rest of your questions on my next live. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate all of you. And thank you for your support and for supporting Oscar.